We were ushered into the town with the help of park rangers hired by the government to manage this environmentally and culturally protected Apolobamba area. These guardaparques are all from prominent Kallawaya families that have lived in Curva for many generations. Ramiro Quina is a 36-year-old park ranger, the public relations secretary for the Apolobamba protected area, and a Kallawaya doctor in training. He is tutoring under Don Maximo and Don Miguel, the most knowledgeable and respected doctors in Curva. Romero has extensive knowledge of all Kallawaya towns in the surrounding area. His positive relationship with every family in Curva made him a very helpful resource in introducing us to Kallawaya doctors. Johnny Tejerina is a 39-year-old park ranger who has been practicing Kallawaya medicine since he was 18. He began training and healing rituals with his father and grandfather when he was 13 years old, including learning the secret Kallawaya language for use during rituals. Johnny has 2 siblings, neither of which has interest in learning the Kallawaya practices. Johnny also explained about past projects to preserve Kallawaya knowledge in Curva and surrounding areas, although he possesses a negative opinion, like many others in Curva, that these internationally funded projects only seek to exploit their knowledge, not help the situation of the Kallawaya people. SEDEC, an organization aimed at cultural preservation, attempted to open a Kallawaya school to propagate the transmission of knowledge to the young Kallawayas. Yet, efforts like this to institutionalize the traditions of the Kallawaya healing culture and the mystical and sacred aspects of their ritualistic practices have failed. It is apprenticeship, not classroom instruction, which allows for a young Kallawaya to be taught by an experienced doctor. Many Kallawayas in Curva felt it would be abominable to pay Kallawayas to teach their secrets to the youth. In 2004, the American-funded Puma project built a small compound on the outskirts of Curva, consisting of a laboratory and other cement buildings designated for collecting and processing plants from the area and preparing teas to be sold in a commercial market. The program, called the Transformation and Commercialization of Medicinal Plants, was clearly established as an attempt to exploit and steal the herbal knowledge of the Kallawaya healers and turn them into profit. In 2006, however, there was a tragic car accident on the mountainous roads in which all 5 technicians working for the Puma project died, and the program has not been revived since. In the abandoned laboratory, piles of collected plants still lie on the shelves, and a huge brand-new grinding and processing machine sits, still wrapped in plastic packaging. A local resident, Bernardo Quisille, who was the legal representative for the Puma project in the area, said that the American company was working with the Ministry of Health of Bolivia, and insists that once commercial profits are realized, Puma would leave benefits to the people of Curva, which most of the Kallawayas interpret as an empty promise. The residents of Curva aren't unfounded in their negative view of outsiders' intentions. Exploitation is not a new experience for the Kallawayas. We witnessed the skepticism of foreigners firsthand in an attempt to interview Fermin Quispe and Mariano Mendoza. After some negotiations between Johnny and his uncle, Mariano, they agreed to speak to us on the terms that we would bring them beverages and coca leaves, and that we would not photograph or video the interview. Mariano is a 78-year-old ritualistic Kallawaya healer who learned the ceremonial traditions through an apprenticeship with Juan Maibisa. Because he was born with a disfigured arm, he was able to become a well-respected ritual healer, although he did not travel outside nearby towns and the mines to perform these rituals. With 2 daughters and 1 son, Mariano admits that none of his children had an interest in learning the Kallawaya knowledge. Fermin is an 83-year-old Kallawaya doctor who had learned from his uncle and traveled for 13 years on foot throughout Peru, Argentina, Chile, and Panama, with only a mule to help carry his belongings while he made journeys of a month or more to meet clients. 2 of his 5 children are learning to be Kallawaya healers. Don Fermin explained that when the Spaniards first attempted to control Curva, the patrones did not have any respect for the native Kallawayas, treating them as inferior, using a poncho to bury their skin from them during a handshake, and prohibiting them from practicing their rituals, since they enforced only Catholic religious practice. Fermin and Mariano explained their resistance to speak to us, vividly recalling the German researcher Ina Rosing, who had recorded and photographed his ceremonies, studying the Kallawaya culture for several months, and then publishing them in a book in 1991. Those Kallawayas who had opened their knowledge to Miss Rosing felt cheated since they had not seen any benefits given back to them from the profits she made off the book. However, they explained that they recently offered full interviews describing their personal and family history and healing knowledge in detail to a local effort by the Kallawaya Association to gather and preserve the history and knowledge of the culture into a publication that will directly benefit the people of Curva. In 5 of Bolivia's 9 provinces, there are regional Kallawaya associations that have formed over the past 2 decades. AMCOC, the Asociación de Médicos Kallawayas Originario de Curva, represents those of the local Curva community of Kallawaya doctors who have chosen to participate as part of this association. Victor Yaves, a native of Curva who comes from a prominent family of Kallawaya doctors, was the former president of AMCOC. His cousin, Fabian Yaves, is the president of the Kallawaya Association in La Paz, and Rolando Magnami is the president of the National Association, Sobo Comeca, that oversees the coordination between different regional Kallawaya associations. Victor Yaves is a well-respected leader of the Curva community, although he had spent 15 years living far from home in Santa Cruz, Bolivia. Now an experienced healer at 55, he first learned how to read coca and the curative powers of plants from his famous father as well as his grandfather, who had clients throughout Peru, Argentina, and Chile. Don Victor, in addition to having extensive knowledge in the healing properties of hundreds of hot, cold, and temperate herbs, also relies on card and coca leaf readings to analyze his patients and come to a more clear diagnosis. His description of the methods of treating patients illustrates the close tie between utilizing the biochemical properties of herbal treatments and appealing to the mental and spiritual state of the patient. A Kallawaya healer studies holistic methods of curing, approaching an illness as an imbalance in an individual's peaceful state of being, which we call homeostasis in biomedical terms. Thus, often both medicinal treatments and healing rituals are normally used together to treat a patient. Usually, however, each Kallawaya doctor will either specialize in plant medicine to treat conditions of the physical body or in ritualistic ceremonies to heal ailments of the heart, mind, and soul. For example, Policarpio Chaca described that in addition to knowing up to 17 different plant species to treat most common ailments, he also explained his specialty in treating melancholy and love problems via rituals using plants and music. He explained that during these rituals, each component has a specific significance in the objective of the ritual, down to every coca leaf. Don Policarpio also claims that after every love ritual he has performed, the girl soon falls in love with the client, and that tourist groups from Japan and China have even sought his services. He began training to be a healer at 19, and he is now 51 years old. He spent his first years as a Kallawaya healer traveling to other parts of Bolivia and into Peru, offering his healing rituals in exchange for payment in money, chickens, or even just a room for the night. He says, like his ancestors before him, as a Kallawaya doctor, he regularly left his home in Curva and his family there for 2 to 3 years at a time, in order to travel by foot to meet with his clients, although Policarpio made it clear that not much time is actually wasted traveling, since he has clients in each sector he travels to. Unlike many of the other Kallawaya families, Don Policarpio is keeping the Kallawaya healing traditions very much alive, teaching his children who are willing to become Kallawaya doctors of the next Chaca generation. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for other prominent Kallawaya families, such as that of Eloy Labia Yaves, father-in-law of Park Ranger Romero and cousin of Fabian Yaves and Victor Yaves. At 53 years old, he has a successful consul office in Buenos Aires and travels to Peru, Chile, and Brazil in addition to Argentina to meet clients. Yet, none of his 3 children chose to become a Kallawaya doctor.